Introduction of Apple Inc. Apple was founded by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne in 1976. The company's products are sold online, through third-party wholesalers, and through its own chain of stores. Apple owns approximately 135 retail stores in the United States, as well as stores in Canada, Japan, and the United Kingdom. Apple also makes several other products which can be categorized as wearables, home and accessories. The products include the AirPod lines of wireless headphones, Apple TV digital media players, and Apple Watch smartwatch. Introduction of Samsung Co. Samsung is a multinational manufacturing corporation based in Samsung City, Seoul, South Korea. Lee Byung-chul launched Samsung as a commercial company in 1938. Samsung entered the electronics, construction, and shipbuilding industries in the late 1960s and 1970s. The Galaxy A12 will be the best-selling Android smartphone in the world by 2021.
The current ratio for Samsung is 2.47 times, while for Apple is 1.07 times. Thus, it indicates that Samsung is very capable of paying off its debts, while Apple will have a problem paying its current obligation on time due to its current ratio. As we can see, Samsung ratio performs better than Apple's. Based on the chart, the quick ratio for Apple is 1.02 times and for Samsung it is 2.0 times. This shows that Samsung is more capable of paying off its current obligation with its liquid asset. Thus, we can conclude that Samsung can pay easily its creditor on time with its higher liquidity than Apple. Apple's debt ratio is 82.03%, while Samsung is 28.52%. This demonstrates that Apple has a higher debt than Samsung, which means that Apple's assets are financed by debt, while the remaining assets are financed using shareholder equity. This will make the lenders reluctant to grant more loans as the risk that Apple failing to repay on time increases. On the other hand, Samsung can pay their debts easily. As we can see, the long-term debt ratio for Samsung is 7.87%, while Apple's is 31.08%. This shows that Apple has a high level of debt and has a risk of insolvency. As a result, we can conclude that Samsung outperforms Apple in terms of debt ratio and long-term ratio because the lower percentage is preferable.
Next, profitability ratio. Profitability ratio measures how effectively a company uses its assets to make profit. There are two profitability ratios that we chose, which are operating profit margin and return on investment. Operating profit margins shows us how efficient a company's ability to generate profit through its core operation. As we can see, Apple generates more profit and uses its assets very effectively compared to Samsung. Return on investment indicates the management's ability to make profit from firms' investments. Based on the graph, we can see Apple's return on investments is at 26.97%, while Samsung's is at 9.35%. This indicates that Samsung's ability to generate profits from its available assets is low. Next, activity ratio, or also known as efficiency ratios. We choose two ratios from activity ratios, which are total asset turnover and inventory turnover. Inventory turnover ratio. This shows us how many times inventory was sold and replaced in a year. Samsung's inventory turnover is very low compared to Apple's inventory turnover. We can conclude that Samsung has excess inventory, therefore it takes a longer time to convert its inventory into sales. On the other hand, Apple's inventory turnover shows us how efficient their inventory management is and doesn't hold a lot of inventory. Next, total asset turnover. Based on the graph, we can see that Samsung's total asset turnover is at 0.7 times, while Apple's total asset turnovers is at 1.04 times. Having lower ratio than Apple indicates that perhaps Samsung need to increase their sales, or maybe some of their assets need to be disposed of. This also shows that Apple are slightly better at using their assets to generate sales compared to Samsung.
For the conclusion, Apple Incorporated has significant disadvantages in terms of probability ratio. It demonstrates when the operating profit margin falls slightly from 2019 to 2020. from 24.57% to 24.15%. It indicates that Apple Incorporated operating costs, non-operating costs, or both are excessively high. Meanwhile, Samsung company has significant disadvantages in terms of activity ratio. It demonstrates when the total asset turnover ratio decreased slightly from 2019 to 2020, from 0.65 times to 0.63 times. It suggests that Samsung company is not making the best use of its resources and may be experiencing internal issue. In a nutshell, while Apple Incorporated may use its resources competently to generate profit, the company is unable to deficit its own profit generation. In comparison to Samsung company, this company is able to effectively deficit their profit generation, whereas this company is ineffective in utilizing their resources.
A few ideas for both Apple and Samsung companies that might improve their financial performance to gain profit and success in future. Firstly, both companies can do is to increase sales and revenue and hopefully profits by raising prices, increasing sales or reducing costs in order to prevent the liquidity ratio from decreasing below 1 in 2022. Secondly, according to debt ratio from both companies, we saw that the company have a high debt level which will put them in financial risk. Therefore, companies need to restructure their debt or file for bankruptcy to resolve their over-leveraged situation. Next, for Samsung, to reduce the overstocking and obsolescence issues, we suggest that the company set a minimum stock level. Finally, to improve quick ratio from both companies, they need inventory turnover and sales by using effective marketing strategy, reduce invoice collection period by balancing payables and receivables. Inventory is required to remove extra items, free up warehouse space, and save money and boost earning. That's all from us. Thank you.